You're saying that the Chinese government manufactured this virus, if I'm hearing you correctly. That's what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. Based on the virus genome, it's basically like our fingerprint.
This genome presumably is in the possession of many researchers around the world. Why is nobody saying this if it's true?
Yeah, why there is nobody want to say it? It's because of the big suppression come from the Chinese Communist Party government and also their friend in scientific world. So basically, this is very clearly that this virus is like Frankenstein. So he created those things like basically a cow has deer's head, has rabbit's ear, and also have monkey's hand. So they can never get it from the nature. They have done that. It harmed everyone in the world, lead to the historic pandemic, involve everyone.
A Frankenstein virus designed to kill, designed by the military, unleashed on the world, and everyone's been infected. That is the current situation, according to one of the world's top virologists that appeared on Tucker Carlson tonight, the Yan report. We talked about that yesterday. It's nice to see some of the information making it to the mainstream media, but the censorship out there is beyond belief. And even scientific journals, scientific papers, scientists are being censored by this beast system, by this mainstream media
and
complex.
We are going to be okay. We're going to be okay, and it is going away, and it's probably going to go away now a lot faster because of the vaccine. It would go away without the vaccine, George, but it's going to go away a lot faster with it.
It would go away without the vaccine?
Sure, over a period of time. Sure, with time it goes
and many
away.
deaths.
And you'll develop herd, like a herd mentality. It's going to be herd developed, and that's going to happen. That will all happen. But with the vaccine, I think it will go away very quickly.
Listen to that guy, herd developed, selling you the vaccines. The military is going to deploy it. Look, they let this virus in. They didn't protect you from this virus. The government didn't protect you from this virus. The FBI didn't protect you from this virus. ABC News did not protect you from this virus. They all failed you on purpose so that you would get this Frankenstein virus and need their cure to survive. They've got you by the balls, ladies and gentlemen, and all of these people are guilty. All of these people should be facing war crimes tribunals right now. Ladies and gentlemen, have no doubt about it. There is no Democrat, there is no Republican. It's just war criminals on TV infecting you with their virus, trying to give you cancer with their eugenics programs. These people are out to get you. Never forget it. You know, they're burning down their forests and saying we've got a climate change problem. Ladies and gentlemen, oh, there's definitely a problem. And it's these people on TV. It's this new world order. As hard as it is to believe, you better wake up out there. We are in occupied territory. It's an occupation. And the first year of occupation is always the best. This is as good as it's going to get. Next year is going to be worse. You know, they're going to come out with their vaccines, their mandated testing. They're going to basically put everybody on the red list, start quarantining, extracting people. A nightmare is coming. Be sure to give yourself every advantage that you can. Plenty of sleep, plenty of sunshine, plenty of fresh air. And, you know, get 110% of all your minerals, vitamins, and the like. And we strongly recommend magnesium. We talked about how everybody's COVID test is going into the police reports. Police officers on the street now have access to your COVID records instantaneously. It's rather spooky, to say the least. We could play that again if you don't mind, video guy.
I've never seen this before. There's an input on the computer that you tested positive for COVID?
Yes.
When was this?
This was a week ago.
Are you supposed to be quarantining?
Yeah, that's why I'm at my house.
So, you know, the guy takes a test a week ago at a clinic or some kind of, you know, service, and all of a sudden it's right there in the police department computer. So we can see how this is all going to shape up. We've also been covering what's in this virus, what's in the payload of this virus. And in fact, it is a doomsday virus. And once, people are infected, the virus nests, hibernates, if you will, in certain cells to camouflage itself, and it secretes virus proteins that cause inflammation of the nervous system, especially the brain, causing rabies-like symptoms, not foaming at the mouth, but the rage. People are going to have COVID rage, ladies and gentlemen, and memory loss, good days and bad days, and it's only going to get worse thanks to this doomsday virus that came out of the lab, ladies and gentlemen. And they've been hiding everything since the beginning, telling people, oh, it's not airborne, breathe it in, all of that. Every coronavirus is airborne, and it's also neurotoxic. And we can start seeing everybody twitching and showing the effects of the COVID encephalitis. We'll be getting into that if we can. But give yourself every advantage out there, ladies and gentlemen. Reduce your exposure to EMF. Get shielding, get a meter. We recommend the EMF 390 for only $129. It blows away the competition. Check it out on our website, stfnreport.com. This is the STFN Report, Stranger Than Fiction News, broadcasting live. We've been banned everywhere for reporting the news, nothing but the news, ladies and gentlemen. And if there is no free speech, there is no democracy. We already say at this stage, there is no democracy. These elections are not fair and free. And these people that get elected or pretend to be your representatives are not legitimate representatives of a free United States. And this is the same thing all around the world. I mean, right now there is not a free country on planet Earth. There are some countries that are a little more free than others, but there is no free country on planet Earth right now. And it only gets worse with the pedophiles and the like. What a shame. I mean, this election is an embarrassment. Just like every other election. I mean, we've got hardcore creepers on TV pretending like, they know something about epidemiology, ladies and gentlemen. Fighting the invisible enemy. Where have we heard that before? That's a New World Order slogan. The invisible enemy, the endless war, the Iron Mountain doctrine, And they need this for their bread and circus. They need it just as much as they need the politics to keep people divided. But look, it's all part of the same system. There is no difference between Republicans and Democrats. Their talking points seem different. It's the same club. It's the same management. They sound a little different, but it's the same people. Skull and Bones, 322. I mean, this has been known for years, and people are still fighting it out like, oh, for one candidate or another. This is going to be your future before you know it. Everybody that's COVID positive is going to end up like this, because eventually they're going to come on television and tell you, oh, this virus is much worse than we said it was. To see actually this scientist show up on mainstream television should actually shock people, because now they're starting to move towards the bioterrorism narrative, which means that, eventually they will tell you that this virus, it's like mad cow disease, it's like HIV, there's no cure, there'll be no vaccine. All the people that have been infected must be quarantined. And that's how it's going to start. That's how this scene is going to begin. And mark my words, that'll happen sooner rather than later. Because that's what's going on. There's no changing what's going on. We've seen the white papers, and we've got plenty of white papers that we could bring up on the screen right now, showing how this virus is neurotoxic, how this virus evades the immune system, how it's like HIV. But it's a Frankenstein virus that was made in a weapons lab, ladies and gentlemen.
You're saying that the Chinese government manufactured this virus, if I'm hearing you correctly. That's what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. Based on the virus genome, it's basically like our fingerprint.
This genome presumably is in the possession of many researchers around the world. Why is nobody saying this if it's true?
Yeah, why there is nobody want to say it is because of the big suppression come from the Chinese Communist Party government and also their friend in scientific world. So basically, this is very clearly that this virus is like Frankenstein. So he created those things like basically a cow has deer's head, has rabbit's ear, and also have monkey's hand.
Monkey's hands. A Frankenstein virus straight out of the lab. A virus designed to kill, ladies and gentlemen. A military virus. And we're learning that this virus has different pathologies in different cell types. And in some cells it is lytic, like in the respiratory pathways, and in some cells it is latent and secretes viral proteins that cause inflammation and suppress the immune system. And that means every other infection will be worse. Every other injury will be worse. And it's only a matter of time before people start dropping dead from this virus. This government failed to protect you from this virus. You know, they say they shut off flights. They shut down flights from China at the end of January, but that's not true. They funneled flights into specific airports at the end of January, and there was always flights going in and out to China in every country pretty much. In California, it was like 100 flights a day between LA, San Francisco, San Diego, and the like. And so there were, thousands of people coming in after January, end of January, 300,000 people that came in before the supposed shutdown of flights. They not only did they not protect you, but they're trying to rewrite history and say, oh, we shut down everything day one and we knew it was airborne. Didn't you read the Chinese reports? Even though, they went on and on and on about how you don't need a mask and you can go to the Trump rallies. They did everything they could to get you infected. And that's something that everybody should be really upset about, because they've betrayed you. They're traitors. And not only did they betray you, they essentially infected everyone with this virus. Notice how the doctor at the end there, Professor, says that essentially everyone has been infected. Let's see if we can come back to this.
So they can never get it from the nature. They have done that. It harmed everyone in the world, lead to the historic pandemic, involve everyone. Everyone has been infected. Everyone was infected in January, February, March, and they timed it out so perfectly that they didn't begin testing the public until, June, basically. Before that, it was first responders. It was, basically people that showed up at the hospital in the emergency room. But they weren't testing the public until June. And that was like well after the window had closed on PCR testing for people that would have been infected in January, February, and March. PCR tests only work basically within the first few weeks after the primary infection. And after that, the virus goes dormant for the most part. It stays in a lytic stage, secreting proteins that they're not testing for. They're not testing for the disease. They're testing for primary infection. That's all the PCR tests can do. And so primary infection for most Americans happened in January, February, and March. That's when everybody got dosed with this HIV, in January, February, and March. That means that in the best case scenario, everybody infected in January, 3 weeks later, they would have tested negative on a PCR test. Everybody infected in February, 3 weeks later, they would have tested negative on a PCR test. Everybody, that would have been infected in March, 3 weeks later, they would have tested negative on the PCR test. Here's the GQ EMF 390 in the lab. You want to check this out on our website. This thing just blows away the competition for 129. Do everything you can to limit your exposure. Give yourself every chance, every advantage possible out there, ladies and gentlemen.
And here we're comparing it with the Tri-Field meter. 129 blows away the competition. Check that out. But everybody was infected January, February, March. You know, by April, there was no chance of picking up anybody from that first wave of January, February, and March. So the people that they're testing now have a high probability of testing negative, even though they're positive. And we're actually getting a lot of reports right now in the UK. They're saying 500,000 people a day would like to get tests because they're feeling the symptoms, but they're not going to test positive. And even if they do test positive, what can they do for these people at this stage? Ladies and gentlemen, nothing. They're not willing to prescribe people anything unless they go critical, and then they'll start jacking them up with steroids and all sorts of chemicals that you don't really want. So they're not treating the disease, and they're just telling people like, oh, you know, just wait a couple years and we'll have a vaccine for you. Well, look, the vaccine might have worked last year, but now that everybody's been infected, it's too late for that. What we need now are heads on a spike. And let's be honest, ladies and gentlemen, there's going to be a civil war after this election, no matter who wins. Doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat. I mean, everybody should be looking to bring guillotines to, you know, Washington, D.C. End this whole system. We've got the white papers that this virus has codes for rabies, neurotoxin. This is a highly neurotoxic, you know, virus, just like every other, you know, chemical weapon that comes out of the lab. This is a zombie apocalypse virus. It is going to spiral out of control. And they want to continue pretending on television like nothing is going on. People better wake up, because this is our future now, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks to the mainstream television, thanks to Bill Gates, thanks to, you know, the invisible enemy, thanks to Donald Trump, everybody. You know, Nancy Pelosi included. All of these people can be thrown into the fucking bonfire ditch party. If you know what I mean. Because, you know, they're responsible. I mean, look at the way America was before these people infected you with their virus. It was already a catastrophe. Now it's even worse. And they're like, oh yeah, we'll fix it. What are they going to fix? Even these masks don't work. Still, right now, people are running around getting reinfected with this virus with a mask that doesn't work. And it's bringing down their oxygen levels. And, you know, Bill Gates and company, you know, have made billions, hundreds of billions on vaccines before the pandemic. And now they're going to make trillions more, and they got you by the balls, ladies and gentlemen.
You've invested $10 billion in vaccinations over the last 2 decades, and you figured out the return on investment for that. And it kind of stunned me. Can you walk us through the math?
In a Wall Street essay, Bill Gates declared vaccines the best investment I've ever made.
There's been over a 20-to-1 return. So if you just look at the economic benefits, that's a pretty strong number compared to anything else.
Breaking news, Bill Gates has made $200 billion from selling vaccines. $200 billion. That's more than Bezos is worth just from vaccines, ladies and gentlemen. And chances are everyone that takes the vaccine will have to be eliminated, because that vaccine is going to make the disease worse. Like I Am Legend. I mean, you can just, you know, bet on the fact that the S protein is booby-trapped for its, you know, equivalent vaccine. Guaranteed that the S protein is booby-trapped for vaccine makers, and they won't realize it until it's way too late, because they're going to push things on the market with emergency, you know, authorization, because it's an emergency, and they won't see the long-term effects until it's way too late, until everybody's been dosed with this lethal injection that they'll make mandatory for everyone. How ironic. Remember, the FBI did not protect America. The government did not protect America. They let us down. They infected everyone. This virus was made in a Chinese lab, released intentionally, and it was let in by the New World Order in every country. And essentially, you know, now they're using it to blackmail everyone. This virus has different pathologies in different cells. Some pathologies are lytic, like in the respiratory tract, and some are latent, like in the immune system, producing viral proteins like, insulin for the body, ladies and gentlemen, becomes a new viral organ. And essentially, all of these people on television represent the armies of the dark side. They represent the devil itself. What's going on here, this Agenda 21, this genocide, this eugenics program, ladies and gentlemen, these are, acts of war. We are in a war against the devil. It's trying to molest and groom your children. Sodom and Gomorrah everywhere. It's an abomination. And it needs to be wiped out. This is a holy war against the devil. Never forget it, ladies and gentlemen, as this country spirals into civil war. Take no prisoners out there, because these people are pure evil. And essentially right now, they've hijacked the entire system. The music industry, the movie industry, the politics, the big corporations. There's no escaping the discrimination, the persecution, the prosecution, and the execution that's coming at the hands of these evildoers. You must protect yourselves. You must organize and be Americans. Understand what the Second Amendment really means. Understand what check and balances really mean. We have no democracy, no freedom, no republic anymore. You have no free speech. There is no free press. Journalists are being arrested, targeted, erased. Breitbart, Seth Rich, Julian Assange, many more, Edward Snowden. I mean, the list goes on. If there is no free speech, there is no democracy. If there is no free speech, there is no freedom. Right now, we can't post on Facebook. We can't post on ScrewTube. Everything is banned or shadow banned. Everything is discriminated against. There is no free competition of ideas. There is no freedom. And therefore, there is no democracy. There is no republic. It is, de facto void. Right now, as we speak, the United States is de facto void. It does not exist because it does not live up to the obligations that are put forward in the U.S. Constitution. We have no free speech. We have no right to assemble. We have no rights anymore. And no matter how they justify the restrictions or the canceling of the Constitution, we are now in de facto limbo. We're all people without a country because our countries do not exist. Our freedoms do not exist. Our constitutions do not exist. And in fact, these people on television, they do not really exist either, as far as we can tell. But if they do exist, they're certainly not duly elected, and they don't represent anyone, period. Because there is no free speech, and there is no freedom. And this is not a free country, and therefore they cannot be free and fair elections. And so the whole system is void. Do you understand? We hereby void the United States of America. It no longer exists and has no authority over anyone, period. And everyone is left to their own devices. And so we better, basically refound our country before it's too late. And that's going to require taking out not the British, but the devil worshippers, the Luciferians. Do you understand what we're saying here? Until the next time, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this, you are the resistance.